In a book that sold 7 million copies, Scott Peck famously said, "Life is difficult." This is a great truth, one of the greatest truths, because it is a great truth because once we truly see this truth, we transcend it. Once we truly know that life is difficult, once we truly understand and accept it, then life is no longer difficult. The Apostle Peter said, "Do not be surprised at the fiery ordeals that is coming on you." Jesus said, "In this world you will have trouble." In this series, we want to begin today. We want to talk about how life is difficult and how we can prepare for life being difficult. And one of the most important things you want to do as a teacher is to prepare your people for the difficult life that is coming. I was reminded of this last week. I spent this last week in Colorado. My 96-year-old dad had a 6-hour surgery, and the surgeon was optimistic, and all went well. But I tell you, it was a little bit nerve-wracking, as you can imagine. And spent one particular night, the night before the surgery, I would not describe myself particularly as a worrier. But I was up one night late, couldn't go to sleep, worried about my dad, and worried about not only the possibility of his dying, but also the possibility of him living in a great deal of pain. And I'm reminded again that life is difficult. And I want to do a little bit of teaching and a little bit of talking to you about teaching. And when you teach, your teaching ought to pour out of your life. And if there's a specific personal example that you can give, it always helps to communicate. And if the example is current, people want to sense that you have a relationship with the living God that is affecting you today. And people want to know, how is your relationship with God going these days? And how does your relationship with God help you to deal with life when life is difficult? And today we want to look at the question, why does suffering exist? And in order to answer this question, we're going to go back to the very beginning, and that is Genesis chapter 3, beginning in verse 16. To the woman, God said, "I will make pains in childbearing very severe," which I understand actually is a prophecy that came true. Can I get an amen? To the woman he said, "I will make pains in childbearing very severe. With painful labor you will give birth to children. Your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you." Now, this word desire is used 2 other times in the Old Testament. And one time it has to do with sexual, or we might say romantic desire. But probably that's not what it means here. More likely it has the meaning that it has in the next chapter, Genesis 4:7. This next word is used where it says, "If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door, and sin desires," same Hebrew word, sin desires to have you, but you must rule over it. And the idea of desire here appears to mean that woman, you're going to desire to rule over your husband. You're going to desire to be the boss of your husband, and it's not going to go well for you. And once again, I will say that prophecy is proved to be true. Truth be told, I think it's true of men and women, that we all want to desire to be the boss. I want to be the boss, and I want you to like it. I want you to do what I want, and I want you to like it. This explains relational conflict. We're going to look at a couple of different kinds of problems and suffering in this world, but this explains relational conflict, that we all want to be at the top of the ladder, and we all want to move to the top of the mountain, and it gets real crowded up there. And Jesus' solution, Jesus said, Matthew 20:25 and 26, Jesus called them together and said, you sense a sense of urgency about, he gathered them together, and he said, "You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. Not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great must be your servant." And this is a solution. This is God's solution to many, many relational conflicts, that we all take on a kind of you first mindset, that I will be the servant and I will serve you, and I don't have to always get my way, and where would you like to go to dinner, and what would you like to do, and I'm going to pick up a broom and sweep the floor and so forth. And if we do this, if everybody does this, most relational conflicts will go away. And that is Jesus' plan. Now back to Genesis 3. To Adam, he said, "Because you listen to your wife." Why is there suffering in the world? Because men listen to